This is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and you are listening to Potsy and Tino on the Potsy and Tino Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Pots and Pans Network brings to you its tag team champions of the world, the Potsy and Tino Show. That's right. Our theme song, as always, is brought to you by Adam's House Cats. It's called the Wrestling Song. It's available on iTunes for 99 cents. We're part of the Pots and Pans Network. And Tino, this week, was monumental in the world of professional wrestling. Monumental. There were at least 2 title changes. There was a Ric Flair sighting. There was so much going on that I don't even want to talk about all that stuff yet because I want to say, what's up with you?
Nothing.
your dog's like, bah, 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 bah. You could not ask for a more perfect segue.
She's so dumb. She's so dumb.
Hey, before I actually ask you what's going on with you, because we just brought up your dog and you just said she's so dumb, I started giving thought to getting myself a new puppy.
Oh, cool.
I'm very early. And trust me, I understand that when I say I'm early, it means next week I'll have a dog. But but I'm so early in the process. I have to ask, because I asked this at work today in the chat because we all work from home. I said, is it wrong that when I get a new puppy, if I get a new puppy, because I'm really still like, can I take care of me, let alone can I take care of me and a puppy, right?
You've done it before.
I did. In fact, I took care of 2 dogs. They got taken care of much better than I got taken care of. But my question is, and I'm going to be real with you. Do you want to know what I want to name my puppy if I get one?
What?
Yeah. You gave the right reaction, I think, because I want to name my puppy Meatball.
Meatball?
Yeah.
I mean, that's okay. I thought it was going to be something dumber.
Like, are you kidding? Meatball? Meatball is like the dumbest name ever for a dog.
No, that's kind of cool.
So okay. Is it because the dog would end up being called Meatball anyway? You know, because we all have our nicknames for our dogs. Like Artie was Melon because he just had a giant fucking head. And Landis was like, well, actually Landis was just Landis. I'm sure people did have nicknames for her.
Yeah.
But she was just Landis, wasn't she?
Yes. I was trying to think.
Yeah, she really was just Landis. But Artie was Melon because his head was so freaking massive on his 60-pound frame. He had a 20-pound head. So he was 80 pounds.
Racist dog.
We've told that story. I was telling that story just like 2 or 3 days ago, and people were laughing because they were like, I've seen dogs like that before.
I think that's my favorite one because he was just so dumb. He's leaning in, and I'm petting him. He's like, hey.
You and Shavar had the same. You know, it's too bad that TikTok wasn't around when I first got Artie.
Oh my God.
Because I guarantee that the reaction that Artie gave to you guys would have absolutely gone viral a million times over. Because like even Shavar came, Shavar would rub his head, rub the melon as we called it. They'd rub the head, and then all of a sudden, like the dog would look at him, and Artie would be like, But I'm telling you, man, for some reason, I don't want to give my dog the traditional name anymore. Like today, I saw a TikTok video where they were going to let.
Artie and Landis weren't really traditional names.
Well, they're not because they were characters that I created.
Yeah.
So Artie was the very first comic book creator or comic book character I ever created, and Landis was like the second comic book character that I ever created. Now Landis has actually gotten her own series, but because I actually liked Artie the character, not and I did love my dog too. Don't get me wrong. I'm suddenly sounding like this is going to be bad. I love the character that I created of Artie so much, and I created him in like 1986, 1987 range, that I always wanted to name my dogs after my character, so that way they would have even more emotional like value to me, you know.
Why don't you name the dog after one of the junior high horror characters?
Because the junior high horror characters are named after like but recently I've been thinking that, you know, like when as Landis got older, I did kind of call her my meatball. Because she got fat and she got old, and you know, so like, you know, I'd be like, come here, meatball, you know, and then she'd be like, you know, whatever. She'd come running up. So I always kind of took it as I'd love to name a dog Meatball.
There you go.
And it's just, trust me, I know it's a dumb and stupid name.
That's funny. It's
funny. Everybody calls their dogs by dumb and stupid names anyway. Like they all, like, you could call your name D'Artagnan, and then suddenly you're calling your dog Lawn Dart.
Yeah.
You know, because you're coming up with a stupid name because you're like, oh well, that's his show name, and that's not his. And it's like, really? So like, you know what? I did realize what Landis's nickname was. It was Stinky, because she had the worst breath in the world.
Yeah.
Her nickname was Stinky. So like, instead of naming a dog Landis the next time, or doing what some people do, which is the classic Landis 2.
No.
I just want to name my next dog Meatball.
You can't.
I want a dog that's about this big, and when you look at him, you go, that's a meatball.
So you're going to get a small dog again?
Well, you've seen my backyard. My backyard is a 10 by 10 enclosure.
Yeah, so you kind of couldn't get something the size of Artie.
No. I could probably go up to 30 pounds. And by the way, I am so not really thinking about it that it's going to have to take like a miracle for like the Durham shelter to all of a sudden have a pug, a Boston Terrier, or something like that for me to sit there and go, I'm ready for a dog. I'm not ready for a dog. Okay. What's that?
Are you checking out the Durham shelters?
So I today I did look up the Wake County SPCA.
Uh-huh.
And all their dogs look like they're 60 or more pounds. And I don't have the space for that, unfortunately. Not saying that the dogs aren't pretty, not saying that the dogs aren't cute, not saying that there wasn't at least one of them that I said, Just saying that I know for my own personal needs, I want a dog that could be I guess an emotional support dog when I go to conventions and stuff, so that I can actually bring my dog in with me.
Mm-hmm.
But then on top of that, I also want like something smaller, because I know that my house can't support a big dog.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not, and again, it's going to have to be the perfect storm to happen for me to do that.
About the size of what, Finn, like your sister's dogs?
So Flynn or Carmen would absolutely, and in fact, 2 or 3 of those dogs. So if I was watching Flynn or Carmen, absolutely the 2 or 3 of them would have to get along, but also like, yes, that size is perfect. And I've had Flynn and Carmen over at my house. They've been able to walk out the back door, do their business, come back in. Flynn likes to sit there and do his business upstairs, like me. But I do mine in the toilet. He does his wherever he wants. But
Right here.
So my mom is watching the 2 dogs this week, by the way. And I know that we're completely off topics of what we wanted to talk about. And I didn't even want to necessarily bring this up, but my mom's watching them, unfortunately, because my brother-in-law Shane had his uncle pass away.
Oh, no.
Yeah, dude. I've been telling you off air about the crazy tragedies that have been going on just around me. I would say in my life, but I'm just lucky enough to know the people that have been passing away, right? I consider them all friends and everything else, because I had another one, my buddy Justin, this past week passed away. And I really wish I'd queued up the 10 bell salute for him, even though he wasn't a pro wrestling fan or anything. I just wish that I had queued that up. But but Shane ended up having his uncle pass away, and my mom is watching the dogs this week for them, because next week I'm out of town. So folks, just so everybody knows, next week we will not be having a show, because I will be. Yeah, this is news to Tino.
I didn't know that.
I will be on vacation in Williamsburg, Virginia. Okay. Now, maybe I try to get online, but I'm going to tell you, you're probably not going to want to see me. I'm going to be like, Tino, you there? You there?
So that's different.
What's that?
That's different from
no different for you?
No.
Oh, well, anyways. So yeah, so next week, unfortunately, we probably will not be doing a show, unless Tino comes over here Saturday and we do a after SummerSlam show.
I got staycation. That's kind of like vacation Bible school. Like right before the school year starts for our youth at the church.
We are going to talk about what's going on with you, by the way.
Yeah. So
Mr. Slipping on a banana peel.
This weekend, I will probably not get to see. I know, because it's a Friday night, Saturday night. I know I won't get to see SummerSlam probably till Sunday, and then I'll probably watch that and then turn around and have to watch NXT that night. Or since we're not gonna have a show, I got time to watch it Monday. I don't know.
So I see we got somebody in the audience.
Who?
If you're out there, don't be shy. Say hi. Get everybody involved with the show. Go ahead, tell us what's going on with you. But Tino and I typically talk about what's going on with us for the first couple about first half hour to an hour of our show. So
what's up?
While I did start looking at puppies, I am not actively trying to find myself with a puppy at home. I do have a lot going on, but I would not necessarily mind if I'm still work from home come January, possibly having a puppy around the house. So I'll start there. But so Tino, now we heard your dog barking. So what's up with you? Because I do have other stuff that was up with me this week, but I want to hear what's up with you and after you slipped on the banana peel.
Well, I had a show this past Saturday in Hickory, which went well. It was interesting. So I took my MRI last Tuesday, and I was waiting for the results to come back because I knew that I had a good to see you. I go to Oasis. I go to a church called Oasis. We're building a church right now. But right now we meet in the Holly Springs High School in North Carolina. I don't know where you're from, But and
Corey is actually based in like the Morrisville, Cary area. So
okay. Yep. So Oasis in Holly Springs. So well, we'll get back to that. So yeah, this weekend coming up, we do something called staycation every year right before school starts for high school and middle school kids who wear. And I'm a youth leader. So instead of having a vacation Bible school, we just pack. We start out. We meet. We have like a just fun. They do. We have the worship, and then we have preaching, and then that night we go. The first night we go is to one of the host homes. We just pretty much just sleep over, stay up, have fun. We talk about whatever the message was. Then we let them do whatever they're going to do. We get up next morning around 8. We do another worship, another devotional. Then we go out and do stuff for the community. Like this year, we're going to a like a Section 8 kind of housing projects and pass out school supplies and things like that. And then we'll cook hot dogs for them. Just have this a big, kind of like a block party, handing out supplies, getting people. And then after that we break that down. Then we take our kids. We're going to a pool and we're going to swim. Just let them hang out, have fun, have pizza, go home that night, then get up the next morning, Sunday, go to church, and then we're done. But usually it's just a whirlwind and we'll be exhausted by Sunday evening. So looking forward to doing that.
But a whirlwind for the right reasons.
Yes. And so it's something I love to do. I love working with the kids for church. I work with the high school boys, and it's awesome. And my wife works with the high school girls. So something we do. We have a good time. So that's this weekend. But we got the results today from my MRI. And so I knew I tore meniscus because that's what the doctor told me. MRI says not only did I tear my meniscus, I tore my ACL and my MCL, and I have arthritis in that knee. So she referred me off to an orthopedic surgeon who is going to be calling me this week so I can come into his office and do a consultation. And I do believe it's I think the one she said she sent me to is the gentleman who works on the Carolina Hurricanes knees. So he's their orthopedic. So in pretty good hands.
So it's our Dr. James Andrews is what you're saying.
Yes.
So like the WWE has Dr. James Andrews that does all of the neck surgeries and all of the craziness that goes on with them in Alabama. And you're saying that you are being signed up to get everything fixed from him.
Yeah, so it's going to be arthroscopic, which means it's a day surgery. I'll go in, they'll probably put me out. They'll do what they need to do they'll cut a hole in, they'll put the camera in, and they can do all that. I'll wake up, they'll make sure I don't have any kind of side effects from anesthesia, and then somebody have to drive me home because I'll be loopy as hell. So, and I'll probably be out for the rest of that day. I don't know if the next day or not. It's going to be a 6 to 8 week recovery, and I will have what I call, because I've had it before, the bionic knee brace. The brace goes from your ankle up to about your mid thigh, and it's got little knobs on the side so you can adjust the, where your knee goes, and I'll be on crutches. So it's going to be fun.
So for the folks out there, Tino actually wanted to make sure that I could move my screwdio, as we call it, from doing a primitive screwheads episode last week, by the way, Tino, to move the studio downstairs so that way he does not have to go upstairs for the next couple. He says 6 to 8 weeks. I've heard that meniscus, ACL, MCL can be up to 12 months. And you know how we're wrestling fans, so I assume that Tino's going to be off the air for 8 to 12 months. But I'll
be on the air. I'll just be doing it from here and not with you unless you move it downstairs.
He really says that he's going to pull a Miz and just get out of the chair and run away from Damian Priest.
Dude, that shit was awesome. That was so funny. He kind of stood up. And he's like, "Oh shit!" When he stood up.
Yeah, when it just happened out of nowhere, right? So Tino, you said you did a show this weekend.
Yeah.
How did it go?
It went good. I couldn't drive the Jeep because it's my left knee that's giving me that I'm having problems with, and legit the Jeep is thick.
And it's a manual.
Yes, so I had to drive the truck, which was fun and a little more gas. But and I didn't, I didn't take the full equipment that I usually would. I play with the guy up there, Chris Day, and he pretty much brings everything. So I'm like, look, so he carried I just had my little combo thing, my mic stand and my mic. I didn't even take my guitar. We did it old school. He played and I just sang. That's all I had to do was just sit there and sing. And then we broke down and he carried everything out, put it back in the truck for me, and I went on my merry little way.
I mean, until John Popper from Blues Traveler lost all that weight, that's all he did. He just sat there and sang, right? Yeah. Every so often he played the harmonica or something. Yeah. But so it sounds like you had a pretty eventful week.
I did, and it could be worse. So I'm glad it wasn't.
I want to go ahead and say for my week, I would like to give the 10-second salute to Justin Davidson, one of my really good friends, who was the GameStop store manager for the Henderson location and then the Cary location. Passed away this week of stage 4 colon cancer, which has affected me pretty strongly. I won't lie. I had Mark over here to do probably the most popular episode you and I have done of the Potsy and Tino show, Tino.
Really?
Yeah, it got a lot of views. Wow. And Justin was that same kind of person where, like, if you needed something done, Justin was actually a certified carpenter. So he could actually do all the carpentry work that you would need. And I have to say it was probably about a year ago, I flat out said to him, I said, Justin, why are you still doing this? And it might have been like 18 months ago. And I was like, why are you still doing this, working at GameStop when I was working at GameStop? So this isn't necessarily the GameStop story of the week, because I know that Tino wants a funny one. And I've got one for tonight.
Okay.
But it may cause tonight to be a little bit longer of a show because of it. But Justin was one of those people that, like, when I took over the Crabtree location of GameStop, like, nobody knew me. Nobody necessarily wanted to work for me. They had all heard my reputation of Rob whips you into shape and Rob makes the store work. But nobody really, like, wanted to get to know me or anything, because they were like, hey, we kind of like the laid back atmosphere of what was going on and blah, blah, blah. And, suddenly there's this one guy not showing up for work and everything else. And out of nowhere, this kid comes in and he goes, hey, man, I was just wondering if I'll be put back on the schedule. And I'm like, who are you? And he's like, I'm Justin. And I'm like, you're going to have to give me more than that, because I just took the store over, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I was out on disability because I have cancer. And I was like, well, how much do you want me to work you? How much, like I'm not, the one thing that I've got going for me, Tino, 15 years at GameStop, almost, never once did I have an HR issue on my hands, right? So, like, if you sit there and you say, hey, I've got cancer, I'm not going to sit there and say, you got to work 38 hours. Right. You know what I mean? So I sit there and I go, Justin, it sounds amazing that you want to come back to work. Like, how much do you want to work? How much do you want to do? And he's like, tell you what, put me on for a shift. Let me see if I can do it. And I'm like, okay. And I even doubled up the coverage on that shift because I wanted to make sure that he could get through the day or whatever. And before I knew it, Justin was that guy that was like, I am going to sit there and work as much as you need me to, because I just enjoy it, right? So I put him on for 15, 20 hours a week as just a part-time associate making like $8 an hour. And he finally said to me, he goes, Rob, you know that I was an assistant manager at one point, right? And I'm like, no, I didn't know that. Like I just, went with what you told me from the beginning. And so what do you want? And he goes, I want to be a store manager. And I'm
Wow.
like, well, you're good enough to be one. And he goes, well, how do I get there? And I said, let me talk to my boss about moving you up to the key holder position, and we'll see what we can do. And he instantly got the key holder position. Like, it was not even a question. It was, hey, we want to move one of your other people over to another store. And I was like, hey, I want Justin to be a key holder. And they were like, yes, Justin can be a key holder. But when Justin wanted to become an assistant manager so that he could be a store manager, at some point he had an issue with the regional. And it wasn't like a big time thing or anything. It was one of those little moments where the regional managers happened to walk in the store and not see exactly what she wanted to see, right? And she sat there and she was like, he's not ready. I don't know why you guys would think he's ready. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, Justin's ready. Justin's not just ready to be an assistant manager. This guy's like ready to be a store manager. But I understand we got to move him up and then move him up. So what do? So we moved him over to Briar Creek, where my buddy Brian was the manager. And anybody who's seen Brian trolling my Facebook posts, you know that Brian thinks that it's funny to just troll rather than actually like compliment people on the successes that they've had, which is fine. It's the way that old people are from time to time. And, like for that, I just kind of pass it off as his diaper's probably full, whatever, So that's the case here. He goes to work for Brian, and he's asking Brian for advice on what to do to move up, and Brian gives him the advice that he kind of needs. But at the same time, I also sit there and get a message from him. He's like, Rob, what do I need to prove that I'm ready for the next spot, right? And Tino, I basically said to him, I was like, the best advice I can give you is knowing what the core competencies that they say the next position has are, and knowing how you already do all that stuff so that they can't say, no, you're not ready, right? That's literally taking the job description and saying, I do this, 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 and this, and having them go, well, shit, he knows the answers to the questions. He's ready for the position. And Justin, who went from, because GameStop's normally, you got to be there 6 months to get promoted and everything else. They literally sat there. He was with Brian for like 3 months. And in that time frame, they'd interviewed him and they were like, we just got to find a store for him. And so a kid who lived in Morrisville, North Carolina, ended up getting offered the Henderson store in North Carolina, which is like a 45-minute drive to and from every day. And Justin took it. Justin never said a word in terms of how much he hated it, like going back and forth.
Right.
And he ended up making the Henderson store back to what it was in its prominence. It became a top tier contender week in, week out on our ranking report and everything else. And then the Cary location came open, and it was literally 5 minutes down the road from Justin's house, and they offered it to him, and Justin took it. But Justin, like I said, when he was working as a part-time employee for me in like 2018, he was already out with cancer, right? So when he came back and he did all this work and he did everything, it really felt like he was one of those guys that, how like you see the old school football coach who won't retire and he's still winning and he's still doing everything, and then all of a sudden they tell him he's got cancer and he retires, and then like instantly like he's gone. Justin didn't do that. Kind of feels like he, like recently he did that, But I'll tell you, like I said, like 12 to 18 months ago, I was like, Justin, you got to go after, you got to get medical disability, man. Like your cancer keeps coming back, and it's great that GameStop's insurance is covering you to take these like cancer treatments and everything, but you shouldn't be working.
Mm-mm.
And even HR was agreeing with me. They were like, Justin, what are you doing? Like, yes, you're making us all look like assholes because we're all sitting there complaining that we don't want to come in for a full day of work. And you're sitting there working a 12 or 14-hour shift in some cases. And it really was like that. Like, this is how much dedication, how much like drive he had for work. And one of the things that I said was that when my buddy Chris passed, is that I really didn't spend enough time with him, like towards the end. And I wasn't there at that dinner that Mark was at, that his parents were at, that his brother was at, and everybody else was at. And like Mark even thought about inviting me, and I just didn't get invited. And it to me, it was okay, because I knew in my heart that Chris was still my friend.
Yeah.
And it was still my good friend. So if I needed something, I could call him and he'd be there. Unfortunately, that's not the case now, right? With Justin, it was a little bit different. I kept reaching out, kept trying to talk to him. And one of the things that really now hits me is that I would talk to him about his expiration, knowing that the doctors had told him he only had so long. The thing that I take from all of that, and I'll stop this because it's probably really depressing, and yet I try to like enhance it a little bit and give everybody a little bit of humor and everything in this. But the thing that really I took from it was that he knew it was coming. He made sure that everybody around him knew it was coming. And yet he still tried to live the best life he possibly could. The last couple times that I talked to him, I made sure that I asked him, hey, what's coming up that you want to be able to do so that we can make sure that you do it? And every time I saw him, it was crazy, because every time I saw him, it was like, no, I got this. And I'm like, you don't have to pay for me. Like, what do you like, I make more money than I made at GameStop. Come on, I can pay. And he's like, no, I got this, because suddenly I don't know what to do with all the disability and everything else that's coming in, because I'm not doing anything. And I mean, like, he was the kind of guy that I would just sit there and go, hey, you want to get in the car, drive around and collect Pokemon in Pokemon Go? And that's what we would do for 2 hours. And we would do that constantly. And we would trade Pokemon, because I'd be like, hey, did you get any good ones? And he'd be like, oh, I got a shiny of this. And I'd be like, hey, could you trade it to me? And he'd be like, I don't know what you got. and like, he would always take the worst deal. And I was always like, Justin, you don't have to take the worst deal. Just give me something equal value. And he's like, no, I don't have that. I don't have that shiny Pidgey. And I'd be like, all right, I'll trade you a shiny Pidgey. I'll take your shiny, like, legendary Pokemon. He was that kind of guy. And I can tell you, it means a lot to have been his friend. And what always amazes me is when people do nothing but talk about how nice somebody was. And I know, because you say it all the time, Tino, I'm an asshole, right? Like it's okay. I agree with you. I have my moments, but I also have those moments where, like, I'm the funny asshole, where people sit there and they're like, They're like, "Ooh," but yes. And Justin would have those moments where he was like, why does this guy think he can treat me like this in my own store? I'm going to be an asshole to him. And I understood it. And I would be crying, laughing, listening to him sit there and explain these situations. And I'd be like, oh, yeah? Well, let me tell you about the time. And he'd be like, no. It's not as good as this one. And I'd be like, you know what? You're right. You got me. Like someone sitting there, saying, I can't believe that you would do this, this, and this. And he's like, I have cancer.
Oh, really? Wow.
And suddenly, like who wants to sit there and go, I don't believe you. What you want me to show you my but
wow.
I love them to death. Unfortunately, it's a terrible statement. I love them. I hate the fact that I've lost two people close to me in the past month. My brother-in-law lost an uncle. It really seems like a rough time going on, and the sad thing is I have some good stuff going on too. Like this weekend was Free Comic Book Day, so I didn't want to sit there and go to Free Comic Book Day and just sit there and like be crying the whole time because I was hanging out at a comic book shop in Fayetteville, North Carolina called Dragon's Lair that I absolutely love going to. And on Friday, Tino, because we're talking about what's up with us, Return of the Walking Flu actually shipped into my house.
What?
So right here is Tino's copy.
Yeah.
When he pays me the $6 for it.
Fuck.
Because he keeps telling me that he just keeps given them, so he can't help support me.
No, I didn't.
But,
I paid. I still don't got my shit I paid for 5 months ago. And I know it's not your fault, but I supported you.
Dude, I'm so mad about that.
I know.
In fact, I'm even more mad now because I know so much more about the situation.
No.
The big publishers out there, the Marvels, the DCs, everybody else, are sitting there literally telling the printers that they need to be bumped up the list to get their books out because they're taking them back from being overseas. So it's pushing the little guy down even further, and it's doing that whole bullshit. But one of the things that came in, you see this? See how it says Chrome Paint?
Yeah.
Okay. So your copy right here, Tino. And by the way, folks, your local comic shop should have this in stock on Wednesday. Okay. Your copy. This marker right here.
All right.
I'm so excited about this.
Like a kid.
I'm signing your copy right now.
Right.
Okay. So it's going to be at my house.
Like a
This marker, when we sign it, you see that?
Yeah, metallic. Yeah, that's cool.
It's not just metallic. They call it liquid chromium. Okay.
Wow.
So your normal silver Sharpie will shine and do all that cool stuff. This looks like when you walk up to a car that has chrome fenders and everything else, and you look at that fender. So like when you used to look at those Fleer Ultra trading cars that had the really cool metal on them and everything, that's what this looks like.
That's awesome.
Like I can't even fathom whether or not you can actually see the look right here, but hold on. Okay. Let's see. You see that?
Yeah, the light hits it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's hold on. Let me take the what's up with you stripe down. Let's see. Okay, we're actually in high definition now. So okay, good.
There it is.
You see
There
that?
it is. Yeah.
Like a Sharpie doesn't do that.
No.
It literally almost looks like a mirror. You just don't see a reflection in it.
That's cool.
It is the coolest marker I've ever seen. Okay.
I can't wait to see it.
I was driving back from Fayetteville from doing the free comic book day, and I ordered 10 more of them.
How much are those things?
Don't ask.
Oh God, never mind.
So no. On so they're on a site called Marker Zone, right? Marker Zone charges $14.99 per marker for them. They had an introductory offer of 3 for $20. So I was like, let me just see if I can find another one of those introductory offers.
You're stupid.
But I did. I found one of those introductory offers, and I ordered 9 more. Got all the way through the process of paying for my 9 markers, and you know what happened? What do you think? What do you think occurred at that point?
They caught on.
No. They offered me more markers. They were like, "Hey," and sorry, I'm trying to. There we go. I'm trying to get the so I can get the banners back up the way that they're supposed to be, and it's not scrolling or anything to them. So here, we'll do that. So they offered me randomly, as I was getting ready to check out after I ordered 9 of these markers, they offered me 1 more without the ability to increase the number, 1 more for $6 a piece. And I was like, well, shit. Let me go ahead and just click that button as many times as I can. No, it said 1. So I got my offer up to 10. And then I clicked, okay, let's buy it. And it told me the price. It was like $67 for 10 markers. So $6.70 a piece. Not a cheap marker.
No.
And I have no idea how long they last. They are amazing. So I like signing everything with them now.
Signing checks. You're gonna go to the bar, sign your receipt.
No. And I'll explain why in a second. But so I order 10 total. And then as I get ready to finish, it offers me the option of getting gold ones. But the gold ones aren't called Mirror Magic, whatever. So I was like, they might just look like the Sharpies, you know? So I said no. Because, and here's what's funny, is I drew a C3PO for somebody this weekend. And as I drew it, I used some of that metallic ink, trying to make it look like it was shining, except it all showed up as silver because it was silver ink. And when you would try to draw over top of it, nothing else goes on top of it.
Oh, okay.
So you can't put yellow on top of that. So now while it's wet, maybe, but it might ruin my other marker, right? So I didn't do it and whatever. But I was like, man, it'd be really cool if I had gold too, so I could sit there and do C3PO. Well, they wanted $7.50 a marker for the gold ones when they're normally $15 a piece as well. And I was like, nah, screw that. I'll just stick with the silver. And it'll just be my signing marker going forward. And the reason why I ordered so many of them, Tino, is because when they came in, they came individually wrapped. And they came individually wrapped as the marker, which means they should last a considerable amount of time.
Yeah.
So I assume for the next while, I will have these markers. Now, I already told my partner in crime when it comes to junior high horrors that I told Eric that when I see him at Scarefest in Kentucky in October, I will give him one of those markers. But otherwise, like I'm not telling anybody about these markers because I don't want everybody to start using them.
You just did.
Did I though? I mean, they got to be wrestling fans and everything else for that.
Yeah.
But anyways, all right, we're at 9:00.
GameStop story.
I've talked about a bunch of this. Oh, you want a GameStop story?
Before we go into wrestling, yes, GameStop story.
All right. So I was actually talking about something earlier tonight. You may have heard me talk about it before. It was something Chris Edge and I used to do called the Gentleman's Bet Club. So I have a GameStop story of the week that involves that same Gentleman's Bet Club.
All right, let's hear it.
So one day at the GameStop Managers Conference, Chris
Which
Edge and I are walking down the Vegas Strip.
Okay.
And we're trying to figure out different gentlemen's bets that will make us pop, right? You know, we don't care if it pops an audience or anything else. It's just going to pop us. So, Tino, you've been to Vegas?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. So on the Vegas Strip, there are people that are paid to have these little trading cards in their hands. And they're more like business cards, but they're business cards with escorts on them. Okay? And they are taught to flick them on their hands and make this weird sound with them. So Edge gets this idea.
Oh, no.
Let's collect as many of them as we can and try to get a full set. They're trading cards. Why not, right?
Okay.
So that's one of the $1 bets, is to sit there. I put $1 down for the Gentleman's Bet Club, and I go, see if you can trade him the ones that you don't have to get the ones you know, like see if you can get ones you don't have from him while giving him back the ones that you do have.
Oh my God. Were y'all sober?
No.
Not.
Walking down the Vegas Strip. Is anybody sober?
Oh God.
12-year-olds aren't sober walking down that strip. But so anyway, he's sitting there walking down the strip and he's doing this. And he's like haggling with the guy. He's like, no, I got that one. I need this one. Can I get this one? And I'll give you this one. And the guy's like, no, just take this one from me, kind of thing. So finally I notice that the one guy doesn't speak English at all, right? And he's wearing a baseball cap and he's got this big bushy hair, like Tito Santana bushy hair, Tino.
Razor Ramon?
No. Razor was very straight down and
Rick
just
Rude.
Yeah, kinda, yeah. Like the perm.
Yeah.
Right? So I sit there and I go, Chris, gentleman's bet. You got to check to see if that guy who's wearing a baseball cap but yet has that big Tito Santana hair coming out the back.
Gullet.
You got to see if he's got a mullet. And he goes, there's no way. Dude, look at how fluffy that hair is. There's no way he's got a mullet. And I'm like, he's got a mullet, dude. And you're gonna go find out. Gentleman's bet. And he goes, son of a bitch. He walks up and he goes, hey man, can I try your hat on?
Oh my God.
And the dude's like that. And the other guy is like, what's going on here? And Chris is like, I just want to try on his hat. Can I try on his hat? And the other guy's starting to go, like, let the guy try on his hat. Like, and finally, like, dude takes off the hat and he's just got like shaved right here, and it's just and Chris is just sitting there going, I can't believe I lost that. Like I can't believe it.
That's awesome.
So there you go. This week's GameStop story of the week, presented to you by going to Vegas for like the 2007 Managers Conference.
A mullet.
A mullet.
I wish I could send the guy.
Oh, dude, he was like, it was so good. And I mean, it went on. It had to go on for 15 minutes because the guy would not take his hat off. And he's like, why?
He probably
Why?
Because he knew. He knew he had a fucked up haircut.
And then it was just all party in the back, all business up front, So all right, Tino, is it that time?
Yeah, let's hit it. What
Monday Night Raw. Is it getting any better? I like how you just nothing.
Slightly, but I mean,
So Busted Open actually said this week's Monday Night Raw actually got a lot better. Randy Orton and Matt Riddle stole the show.
Are they? Because he hit him with RKO and he smiled.
We're obviously here. It's 9:00 at night on Monday. I have a feeling that Matt Riddle is probably going up and apologizing to Randy Orton right now, trying to give him a birthday cake or something. And Randy Orton is probably sitting there saying, Riddle, I don't want your cake. I don't need your cake. I don't want your friendship. We don't need to do this. And of course, Riddle's like, but Randy, we're like two bros, man, and we're just doing our thing, and we should And the whole time, Randy's sitting there trying to keep a straight face, because if you watched last week, Randy was popping through the entire thing, including after he gave the RKO.
And that's why I thought maybe, he was like, I'm gonna hit you with this, but and then
so I think he's gonna say, like, for those out there, I think he's gonna say, I'm a Viper. It's what we do. Kind of like the Scorpion and the Frog.
Yeah.
Like the oldest story in the book. Hey, Mr. Frog, can the Scorpion hop on your back and get across the water? Yes, you absolutely can. And then what happens? Because Randy was out so long that Matt Riddle is the Frog now. You would have thought that Randy was the Frog and Riddle could have been the Scorpion. But Randy's always been the Scorpion. That's why they call him the Viper, right?
But I'm wondering if it's gonna be if Riddle earns respect, kind of like when Jeff Hardy and Undertaker had that match, and Jeff kept getting up, and Undertaker kind of came back and helped him up and patted him or raised his arm and walked out. I'm wondering
if your question, I think what's going to happen is Randy's going to get told by Riddle, hey, Randy, I set up a tag team championship match against AJ and Omos for us at SummerSlam. And if we win, it'll show exactly how much I've changed and blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And I think what'll happen is Riddle wins the championships. And then Randy sits there and he's like, kid, I didn't think you had it. I didn't think it was going to work. And I guess we'll give it a shot, Riddle. But then right after that, he drops him with another RKO, I see him dropping Riddle with an RKO until Riddle stays far enough away where he's like, no. like I can totally see the no.
It'd be funny, and they're probably like he goes to hit him with RKO and then he doesn't do it, and Riddle's like, he goes, oh, like you like me, oh. And then Riddle
goes, oh, and then he just drops himself anyway. That would be hilarious. By the way, it's really the only storyline reason to actually want to watch Monday Night Raw right now. I'm okay with the Goldberg versus Lashley. I don't know if you watched Lashley on the Broken Skull Sessions.
I watched it today. I was when I was texting you. I meant to ask you if you saw that.
I did. Is it amazing to you, or is it just me, that that Steve Austin is so good at what he's doing that he surprises his guests with his knowledge of what's going on in their regular lives.
So you're like, yeah, you meditate and you make up your bed every morning, and I was like, what the?
Dude,
he researches.
So I'll tell you, before I moved into my own place, I made my bed every day. Wow. So at my mom's house, I made my bed every day. At my sister's house, I made my bed every day. At my old place, my old house, everything. I used to make my bed every day. I moved into this new place. I stopped making my bed every day. And today, guess what? I watched that yesterday. I made my damn bed. And it made me sit there and go, you know what? I do need to be disciplined enough to sit there and make my own bed every day like a real person. Because if I ever have somebody come over and they see that my bed's not made, what are they going to think of me? And Bobby even talks about how a lot of that had to do with his Army training and everything else. But he said he got away from it. And then he started realizing that he wanted to make time for those little things, and he started doing all of them again. And isn't it weird knowing how intense of a person he is when he gets between those ropes, to see how civilized and how normal he seems when he's outside of those ropes?
Well, he even said, he's really shy and he's an introvert. And so I guess that's, when the light comes on, that red light comes on, and he's like, he even said when he's in that ring,
it's those 4 ropes, man. When he is inside those 4 ropes.
He even made the comment about how people are always like, he's so like just calm when he's in the back, and he gets in the ring. People are like, you all right? Because
you're right. You're right. But one thing I specifically took from it was, I don't need to fight. I like to fight.
Yes.
And Austin was like, oh, do you now? And he's like, I'll fight Brock Lesnar. I'll fight The Rock. I'll fight Steve Austin, who I know has one more match left in him. And you see Steve Austin go, oh. Yeah. But the whole time I'm sitting there going, this guy, like, so Chael Sonnen, former UFC fighter, was always up in the upper mid card of trying to win the championships with them. He's been a promoter. He's been a commentator on a lot of different things, including some pro wrestling stuff. He used to sit there and say that the fight didn't really start until he got punched in the face once. Okay. Mike Tyson used to sit there and say, everyone's got a game plan until you get hit in the face, right? With Bobby Lashley, like, I literally look at that dude and think that if someone took the opportunity to knock a tooth out of him, right?
He
like,
just looked at you.
Shot him, right? He'd just look at you and he'd go like this. And then he'd open his eyes, and the fire and the blood in the eyes would just sit there and make you go, what the fuck did I just do? Like, they even talked about how he lost an MMA fight, and that guy ducked him to fight a rematch while he had mono.
Yeah.
Like, that just blew my mind that he was like, I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling right. And he said, I went out there and I destroyed him in that first round, but I had nothing left in the tank after that. And I'm like, that's a 5-minute round. Like I can get that. But like, could you imagine if he had beaten the shit out of that dude and knocked him out in the first round and had mono?
Yeah. Oh, he's
bad. Like, it's insane to think about. And it just made me sit there and go, I want the Bobby versus Brock match even more. And what upsets me about it, Tino, is I don't want it in a WWE ring.
So you want like in the octagon?
I want it in the octagon. I want it without the standards of who's on drugs and who's not. Because both of them are 285 pounds. Like, I don't care. They showed that picture of Bobby Lashley with Kurt Angle when he was 210 pounds and super cut.
He didn't look right.
and he looked like Shelton Benjamin. You know, and I'm sitting there like that dude's head's this fucking big, and yet his body is this fucking big.
My favorite is when they showed his first match on SmackDown. They had that still play. He goes, "I'm pudgy there." I'm like, "Pudgy where, motherfucker?" I'm like, what
now
pictures
you
you
hear
looking
him and
at?
everything, and folks, we're still talking about Monday Night Raw because he is the world heavyweight champion. By the way, I can't believe that nobody talks about the fact that he is only the second African American world heavyweight champ or WWE champion ever, complete African American champion ever. His life, everything else, like the whole bank robbery thing, I had no idea.
When he said he turned like that, I'm like, maybe that's where that thing came from, the bullet. But I'm like, no, he got.
Oh, you think you got shot in the face? Come on, man! Like that'd
bullet?
be a hell of a story. And if they weren't telling that every week, like you think you can take me down? I got shot in the fucking face. Like, but no, man. Like I was blown away. Like I was blown away by how much I got to know him.
Yeah.
In an hour and a half, and yet I still don't feel like I know enough about him.
Yeah.
Like, and you know what I did like about it is that every time, and I hate to say this because I'm the white guy here, okay? You know it, I know it. Nothing, like he came from nothing. He didn't have a lot, but he didn't come from nothing at all. His family was still together. His dad was a military guy, everything else. But this was like the first time we heard the story where he went through college. He did all this. He did like when something wasn't going his way, he went out of his way to find a way to make it work. I'm training for the Olympics. I'm doing this. All of a sudden my knee blows out. And yeah, Gerald Briscoe called him out of the blue, and he didn't want to sit there and say, I blew out my knee. I can't do it. I was in a bank robbery. He doesn't want to do any of that stuff because all of that is red flags, right?
He survived Blaster Lashley.
Blaster Lashley, exactly. But think about it. Everything he did, he earned.
Yes.
But he was never in an unprivileged way. Like I'm not saying that anything was given to him because nothing was.
Oh no, he worked his ass off.
He worked his ass, and he still to this day does. And if anything was privileged to him, it was the fact that he'd already known MVP, and then they took the idea of MVP and him to WWE management, hoping that they didn't know that it was part of TNA.
Yeah.
You know, and even that, I love how when he's like, when I finally won the world title, you know, it's after MVP blew out his knee. And it's twice now that I've won the world championship after MVP got hurt.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, like, I was blown away by it, dude. I really feel for the dude. And you know, like yes, the privilege came with being in the McMahon versus Trump storyline and stuff like that, but he immediately disappeared after that. Like he had the match against Cena and then he was gone.
Yeah.
And then he was gone for years, you know, and hearing that Bellator and TNA didn't want him working at both promotions at the same time.
Like, no one Bellator was the other one, and then Bellator, he got Bellator because Bellator and TNA were
right. Because Bellator and TNA were both on Spike, so they said, "Let's get together and let's do something."
It was that first one he was with. And I can't remember what he did. He said the
Strike
name.
Force.
Hmm?
Strike Force.
Yes.
And Strike Force ended up getting bought by Bellator, but no matter what, it's still one of those things where you're like, "That's just crazy."
Yeah.
You know. Ready to move on?
Yeah. NXT.
Calm before the storm? Question mark?
Yeah.
Did you hear the report this week that not only are all the moves because they lost the war?
They're blaming Triple H. Well, Vince is blaming Triple H.
And it's a you lost the war and it's your fault Now, Tino, history seems to be a little bit blurry here for things like Busted Open. Okay. So I like listening to the show.
Yeah, you mentioned it. I think they need to we need to sponsor them, or they need to sponsor us.
I'm thinking I'm going to start calling them and saying, hey, start sending people over to the Potsy and Tino show on Monday nights. But they got something wrong. They said that NXT moved to Wednesday nights to go against AEW. And that was not the case.
No, NXT was always Wednesday nights.
NXT was, well, originally they were Thursday nights.
Yes.
Then they moved to Wednesday nights.
Then
about a year, maybe even longer than that, then AEW was even a thing.
Yep.
So in that time, like everybody seems to think, oh, NXT only went to Wednesday nights because of AEW, and that's bullshit.
Nope.
NXT was a live 1 hour broadcast from 8 to 9 every Wednesday night. And AEW came aboard, and Vince McMahon and company sat there and said, hey, USA, you want to give us a 2 hour slot and we'll give you another wrestling broadcast. So in no way, shape, or form, when they sit there and they say that AEW forced WWE to put a program on Wednesday nights,
no,
it wasn't true, right?
Yeah, NXT was first.
So I don't like any time that people remember history. Like people talking super nice about the Ultimate Warrior and not remembering the times that he was an asshole.
Yes.
Okay. Towards the end, he
calmed down,
apologized, he humbled himself, and he became part of the universe again, right? Even though he would say that he was part of the One Warrior Nation before that and everything. A lot of people don't want to remember all of the crazy like public speaking arrangements and everything that he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now we still remember him for being the guy that said every year we should honor somebody for what they did outside of the ring. And I believe that. I think that is a true and honest way of doing things. So people are remembering history when it comes to the AEW NXT thing, because NXT was already that night. So my question to you, and I really want your opinion here, is had WWE just left it on the WWE network and WWE network subscriptions had gone up, would that have been a victory?
In Vince's eyes, yes, because he would have. In Vince's eyes, I don't think it'd have been.
Would Vince have believed that it was because of NXT, or would he have believed it was because of one of the other things that he was creating? Because at this point, and yeah, I kind of set you up for this. At this point, he doesn't look at NXT as his creation.
No.
He doesn't look at NXT as a viable third brand because it's not in his vision, right?
Well, his vision right now sucks. Well, SmackDown, I don't know what the deal is, why SmackDown is so good.
Well, let me ask you. We know why SmackDown's so good, and we'll get to why SmackDown's so good. But why do you think that NXT isn't his vision?
Because he's first of all, he's a egomaniac. Number two, a lot of the people on NXT aren't Vince McMahon's creations. If you look at NXT, a lot of those, they're coming from other companies, from the indies, from, you know what I'm saying? It's not something.
Hold on.
Get it.
What was NXT always meant to be? And let's go back. Hold on. Let's go back to what NXT was the night that it wasn't ECWWE? What was the first thing it was meant to be?
A developmental.
Correct. So at some point, Triple H got into his ear. Triple H said, boss, I think we can go out, get the best indie wrestlers. Let's go ahead and get everybody from Ring of Honor, New Japan, and wherever we can get them. And we can make the next great stars, and we'll be able to take down anything that ever thinks that they're competition.
Right.
And it's a good sales pitch, right? And when you bring in Finn Balor, Samoa Joe,
AJ Styles. Well, AJ Styles.
Well, AJ went right to the main roster.
Yeah.
Nakamura, Bobby Roode,
McIntyre.
Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, the four women's horsemen.
Yeah.
You know, like you go down and when it was
Ciampa. How I forget Ciampa and Gargano. Oh shit.
Well, again, yeah. But except those guys were brought in during the cruiserweight tournament as Tommaso Ciampa and
gotcha.
You know, like when we're really talking about the developmental side of it, we're talking about Kevin Steen. We're talking about
Delirious. No, not Delirious. What was he? He wasn't
not Delirious. Yeah.
Fuck. That's gonna drive me crazy.
Sami Zayn as the luchador.
Yeah, keep going. I'll find it.
Finn Balor was Fergal Devitt or Prince Devitt. You know, Kenta was Kenta before he was
El Generico.
Akira, you know, like all of these guys actually had other names and other personas. So when they came into the WWE made them into a new character because that's what WWE did. At some point, they said, well, fuck, Samoa Joe is Samoa Joe. We're not going to take Samoa Joe away from being Samoa Joe. We're not going to take Nakamura from being Nakamura. And at that moment, it stopped being what it initially was meant to be, and it started becoming its own thing. And Vince let it go because it was doing money. It was doing $1 million gates. They were building the brand. And it wasn't until October of 2019 when AEW started and was on TNT, went up against their already established third brand now. And their third brand put on fire every week and still does. And what happened?
Vince got scared.
They lost. Wasn't that he got scared? He's still not scared. I said it, and I will say it right here on our show, Tino. Right now, I'm worried that Vince McMahon does not realize that Nick Khan and Tony Khan are not the same person.
Yeah, you said that, yeah.
And you know, Scott in our group sat there and said, that's probably the funniest thing I've ever read, except for the fact that Vince McMahon, I could see being so senile at this point in his life that he legitimately sits there and goes, why does everybody think Khan's against me? Khan's my right-hand man.
Well, when you said they lost, NXT lost?
Would I say that they lost?
No, you said before we jumped on that. What happened? Why'd you say? You said it NXT lost or AEW lost or what?
NXT lost the head-to-head, but what's sad about it is that the reason why it continued to lose head-to-head is because people, even if they preferred the product, and this is from the very first day that they ever showed it on USA, I said this. they're going to watch AEW before they're going to watch NXT if they watch both of them. And they'll end up watching NXT on the WWE network because it doesn't go against the ratings, which overall means that under no circumstance is anybody who's going to watch both is going to choose NXT over AEW.
I do. I watch NXT the night and I watch AEW the next day.
How many people do you think do that?
I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Well, but also, what demographic are you?
I'm the 18 to 40.
Are you? No, you are not, sir, unfortunately. So you can have your Goldberg at SummerSlam.
Wow.
No, but see, that's the whole thing that people don't seem to get, is that all along, and I don't even think that Vince McMahon gets it. Vince McMahon sold the WWE network to Peacock for $1 billion over 5 years, which means that the new programming of NXT on there that people weren't watching on Wednesday night and waiting for a later night in the week to watch it are still getting their fix on Peacock and paying him the $1 billion. So I will state, I like the idea of WWE going back to NXT is going to be the proving ground of new talent, okay? Because I think it needs to get to that. I think guys like Reggie need to go through NXT and be NXT champion before they're the 24-hour champion on WWE programming. It's not going to happen. He's already there. And he's one of the few points that I actually enjoy watching right now. At the same time, I think it's time to get rid of all the stale characters that are on Raw and SmackDown and move everybody that is too good to be on NXT up from NXT. So this does mean your Garganos, your Ciampas, your Adam Coles if they're still under contract, your Pete Dunnes, your Timothy Thatchers. It's time to move them up.
Yes, I agree with you, but you and I both know when people get called up from NXT into Vince's creations, he fucking buries them.
So here's the one area that, while I agree with you, I can't dispute that, right? There are very few spots where we can sit there and say that didn't happen. Sasha Banks, Bayley, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor. Those are like the 7 people that have made their way onto the main roster and been able to stay there, right?
Okay.
Well, hold on. I'm sorry. Alexa Bliss, Elias, Nikki Cross, I guess, Nikki Ash, Rhea Ripley, former world champion, Asuka, former world champion. So we got 12 to 15 stars that were actually made from NXT that did make their way over, didn't change their names or anything else except for Nikki Ash, right? So I agree with you. But Vince McMahon himself has said that their product is stale, which means he knows it's time to do a mass call-up. So all the people that are still there that are too old and too small or whatever, maybe it's time that they actually get called up to the main roster. Your bigger people that are still there get called up to Raw because that's Vince's show. And then on SmackDown, you end up calling up all the smaller guys like Ciampa and Gargano and whatever, and those guys go to SmackDown. So I could imagine a moment where you actually have Timothy Thatcher versus Matt Riddle being a main event on Monday Night Raw in just a couple weeks.
They have so many people on the roster that they are not using right now. That massive call-up isn't going to do anybody any good.
Hold on. Yes, it will. And you know why? Because all those people they aren't using on the main roster, guess what's going to happen to them? They're going to get rid of them. Because Vince is looking for a 22 to 30 level of low to mid-card players that are willing to play ball with him for the next 8 years, to where 8 years from now, when WrestleMania 50 comes up, and trust me, I know that it's more than 8 years away, because it's like 14 years away, 12 years away, whatever, that they will be the next Seth Rollins. They will be the next Roman Reigns. Like, we're in that pattern right now where Vince basically gets to go, hey, this guy hasn't been doing anything for us for a while. It's time to get rid of him. Okay, cool. And you're going to bring someone from NXT up to take that place and actually show that they can do something? Cool. Because for the last 2 years, they have done nothing but what WCW did and stifled all the talent by putting them in a holding pattern and saying, if you're going to work house shows. Well, guess what? For the last 18 months, there's been no fucking house shows. On top of that, like remember when we went to SmackDown? I can't even remember when it was, and we saw the Colognes.
Yeah.
And the Colognes fucking wrestled, and we sat there and we were like, we didn't even know they were still under contract.
Yes.
And pardon me if you guys can hear my Facebook going bloom, bloom. Apparently my day job is sitting there trying to tell me that people are messaging me or whatever, and I don't want to listen to any of it. So hopefully you don't hear it. But if you do, sorry. So that's what I'm saying, is at this point, Vince realizes he's got too many people on roster. That is something that is good for the WWE, to realize they have too many people. Am I saying they should get rid of Bronson Reed? No. Am I saying they shouldn't re-sign Adam Cole? No. What I am saying, however, is that if Vince McMahon thinks that Otis is in the same position that Bronson Reed would be in, he doesn't need two of that guy. So get rid of him, which is fine, because a guy like Bronson Reed, who built himself up to North American champion in NXT, can now command a premium on the entire market of indie guys. And on top of that, if he signs with somewhere like Ring of Honor, he's going to be a main eventer with them. So it's good for everybody. It's not bad for the WWE that they're letting these guys go. It's good for the talent because they're getting to be used somewhere. Look at Mike Bennett.
Oh yeah, dude.
Look at Kurt Hawkins. Hell, look at Matt Cardona. The guy's GCW world champion right now because he allowed himself to be pizza cut to be relevant.
Well, Kurt Hawkins is the new #1 contender for the Impact title. He won that Battle Royal.
I'm not interested in that after watching what I saw on Rampage. But, Tino, we've talked enough about the WWE guys. I think it's time to talk about AEW. And I'll start by saying, let's go ahead and go through Dynamite. And the only thing that I really saw on Dynamite that I really want to talk about, which was the Christian Cage promo, which led to the match on Rampage.
Yeah.
And the Chris Jericho versus Wardlow match that will lead to this week's match on Dynamite.
Yeah.
So it was only about a month and a half ago that I sat there and said, don't be surprised if at the next pay-per-view, Christian is the guy going for the world title in AEW, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't going for the world title. But
he is now.
Well,
he's the number one. No, at the pay-per-view.
Okay. I'm thinking Rampage. You're right. I forget. Kenny has too many fucking belts. Anyway, you're right.
And the entire wrestling group was like, oh, AEW doesn't do that. AEW doesn't sit there and push any of the WWE guys up to the world title picture and blah, blah, blah. And what happened?
They did it with Jericho. They did it with Moxley. And now they're doing it with Christian.
Well, but hold on. Moxley did go like 20-0 before he got a world title shot. right?
Okay, I give you that.
And you're right, Jericho did immediately come in, but Jericho was a New Japan guy by the time he came in, not a WWE guy. No, we all know that the reason why Jericho was the first world champion was because he was the most established guy outside of their 10,000 fans that were in attendance, right? So Christian Cage comes out and does his promo, and Don Callis does the right thing. Okay, he as a heel manager sits there and pumps up the babyface, something that is not always seen anymore. And I hate when it's not, because it really downplays what someone else is doing. For example, John Cena is running down his opponent rather than sitting there saying, these are all your accomplishments, but this is why I'm going to beat you, right? So Don Callis sits there and starts talking, hey, kid, let me tell you that your finisher is one of the best in the entire business. By the way, I think it's one of the worst in the entire business because it's the easiest one to get the fuck out of. Like, all you got to do is push him. That's all you got to, like, you get your two hands, just push him away. You're out of that finisher, like every single time. That's how people get out of it. Regardless, I love Christian. I'll continue. He's sitting there talking about all of his accomplishments and all the things that he's done and how he's the workhorse and how he's doing everything. And then he's like, but you're not Kenny. Yeah. And that's how you pump up your champion. You make the challenger sound like they are worth $1 million. And then you go, but the champion is worth $2 million. And I loved it. I loved every minute of that. That interaction, that whole build up, everything else. I still don't know who the Young Bucks are facing at the next pay-per-view, by the way. September 5th. There's literally half a month left to go. And I don't know who they're facing.
Was it not Jurassic? No, that's next week.
Yeah, I don't know.
They announced it. I just can't remember who the hell it is.
Either way, it bugs me not knowing it. However, after that, we got the fourth labor of Jericho, right? Jericho versus Wardlow. Jericho looks a step off. I love him. You know that I am a Jerichoholic. I own a shirt that literally says the Wall of Jerichos that I designed because I'm that much of a fan, right? Not for the sales, although if you want to buy it on my TeePublic. But
cheap pop.
But Tino, he looks a step off. Wardlow did not look like he was ready for that moment. Like that match, like here's my problem with it.
Wardlow's still green though.
Well, let me ask you this though. We're talking 2 years into Wardlow's career in AEW, by the way.
I know.
And we're saying he's green.
I think the first 6 months he was just a bodyguard. He was just a heater. I don't think he wrestled.
He might have on Dark or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. But let me ask you, should he have been the fourth labor of Jericho, or should Nick Gage have been the fourth labor of Jericho?
I think they might have had that backwards.
I think that they did a lot of that backwards. Now, let me ask you something, and this is we're going to break the fourth wall, okay? The stipulation for the fifth labor of Jericho is pretty simple. No Judas as your theme song.
And no Judas Effect.
And no Judas Effect as your finishing move, right? Now, he used the top rope Judas Effect to beat Juventud Guerrera, which wasn't necessary. He could have just fallen flat on Juventud and it would have been over. Sorry.
It was still entertaining.
It was entertaining, but I don't even really know if that was the real Juventud Guerrera underneath.
Kind of like that thing you sent me where Regal is a comedy classic, and he punched Big Show, and Big Show just fell on him for the 3 count, and Regal's
Yeah. So those that don't know what Tino's talking about, there was a TikTok that I saw the other day where William Regal, back when he was still professionally wrestling, put a thing of brass knucks on and punched the Big Show in the face. The Big Show went back into the ropes and just fell on top of William Regal. And Regal, because the Big Show was 540 pounds at the time, could not kick out of the pin. So he lost the match, even though he knocked out the Big Show, which was absolutely phenomenal storytelling, by the way. I will probably say that was a Brian Gewirtz moment because I mean, he wrote some of Young Rock, so we know exactly how funny he is, right? So, Tino, let's talk about Rampage.
First of all, I like the fact that it was just like wrestling for a straight hour. It wasn't any backstage, any.
That's not true. That's not true. Mark Henry talked to Christian for 5 minutes.
You know what I mean? Smart-ass.
No. But let me put it this way: it was lightning fast how quick that hour went by.
Yes.
So I agree with you there. And it was after a fire episode of SmackDown, by the way.
And
so, go ahead.
I know you put down the John Cena's the promo, but I like he had a theme. And 1, 2, 3. He had that theme going through the whole. He goes, "You're gonna whip my ass."
Hold on. Let's stick with Rampage.
Okay.
We'll talk about SmackDown in a minute. Let's talk about Rampage.
We got to talk about my show too.
You had 3 matches.
Yeah. I was confused.
You had the Impact World Championship, Kenny versus Christian, which was set up on Dynamite, where Christian sat there and said, "While I've gotten the approval from Tony Khan to be the #1 contender at All Out," the very first episode of Rampage, I've talked with both Tony Khan and Scott D'Amore about that other belt on your shoulders. Now, notice they didn't actually mention his 3rd belt. But, and you and I can talk about that a little bit if you want to. The fact of the matter is that when Rampage started, Christian Cage sat there and said, "First match on Rampage, we're going to go ahead and do something a little different. We're going to do the Impact World Championship match right then and there." And Scott D'Amore has already approved it. And of course, it's like, what? You can't do this. Blah, blah, blah. You know, like the whole good heel moment. And we get that match, right? So on Rampage, we get that match. We get the Miro versus the New Kid match. And then we also get Britt Baker versus Red Velvet. So a stacked card because you have 3 matches with champions. Is that going to be what Rampage does going forward? Is it going to be a stacked card every week, or is it going to suddenly be their main event show?
I think it's going to be their main event show. I think they stacked it, and they probably will stack it for the first month or 2, I think, to get people watching. But I do think eventually it'll turn into a main event or Sunday night kind of thing.
You know what I think they're planning on doing is taking a look at the ratings, knowing that it was on immediately after SmackDown, right? And if it continues to have the same level of Dynamite viewers, or has more viewers based on what SmackDown has, because SmackDown is the most watched wrestling program on TV currently, I think that they will continue to do that kind of programming. Or if they realize that the ratings are like half of what Dynamite is or anything else, then at that point they'll sit there and go, "All right, it's our main event," rather than our main event, right?
Don't make it their Thunder.
And I mean, let's be real. At this point, SmackDown is better than Raw. So if it was the Thunder versus the Nitro, it could be a better program.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is I wonder which it's going to end up being. Because when you talk about having 2 championship matches, a championship change hands, and like the other match that isn't a championship match is to determine whether or not the kid gets a contract.
Well, no, he'd have won that. He'd have won the belt too. That was
right. But he still got the contract.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like all things considered, they really stacked the card there for that one, right?
Yeah.
Now, you got anything else you want to say about Rampage?
No.
So let me ask you this. Based on the fact that we're talking about Christian Cage winning the Impact World Championship.
Oh, he's going to win. He's going to win.
It's kind of interesting considering that he does have history with Impact. Right? In fact, that theme music and everything that he uses is his old Impact Wrestling theme music when he was part of TNA.
Yep.
So do you think he beats Kenny Omega again? You're full of shit.
Yes.
You're full of shit?
No, yes, I think they've been. Why am I full of shit?
Because there's no way he's going to win now.
Why?
Because you don't give it away for free and then have the same outcome on pay-per-view.
And that's why I think they'll do it.
That doesn't make any sense.
I think he'll win it. I'm calling it now.
Hold on. Let me grab the old wallet. You ready?
What is that?
It's a Lincoln.
That's not a gentleman's bet. What is that?
That's a Lincoln.
That's not a gentleman's bet. I thought you did it.
Do you have a Lincoln?
I thought you did it.
Hold on. Do you want to do a Jackson?
You don't lost your fucking mind. I ain't renting that much. No. We'll stick with Lincoln.
So you're cool with a Lincoln?
We'll do a Lincoln.
All right. Kenny Omega retains.
Kenny Omega
versus
loses.
Wait, who loses?
Omega's going to lose.
Okay. So hold on.
Christian.
Now let's make sure we do this. This Lincoln right here.
This Lincoln.
Does the title change hands?
Yes.
And I say no.
All right.
So under any circumstance that the title does not change hands, you owe me that Lincoln.
Even if he pulls a chicken shit move and gets disqualified.
I mean, Christian cheated to win the title on Rampage. So it's only fair.
Now, did he though? Who brought the chair in?
So again, the question is,
okay, if the title doesn't change hands, you can have this. You can have this.
So no matter who is declared the victor, if the title does not change hands,
yes, Rob
wins
$5.
All right, folks, you heard that. We're not doing an Andrew Jackson though.
No.
Okay. And it's because I don't have a Washington in here.
Mm-hmm.
I barely ever carry cash in yet. I got a 20 and a 5 in there somehow. But
I just have to have a 5 sitting right there. I'm like, okay, I can do a Lincoln.
All right, we got Chris Barrett has finally joined. Dynamite sucked. Rampage was good. Dixie Carter is going to come out and tell Omega that he doesn't drop the belt. He has to gargle a 5th of Jack. And he also says, and as the witness, this bet is now valid. So Chris Barrett has now validated our bet, Tino.
All right.
We are not done because we still need to talk about the Summer of Cena.
before we hit that, there's only one main thing that I want to hit with NXT, and that's that. I forgot the comment for the storm. I forgot. I don't know why. To the moon is my favorite part. And DiBiase came back. There's now a challenge on the next NXT takeover. If To the Moon wins, he gets the belt. But if he loses, not only does he lose the belt, DiBiase now has to be the butler. Did you see that? Did you watch NXT?
I must have missed that.
Yeah, that's the bet. And Grimes was trying to tell DiBiase, no, and he was like, no, you can do this. He had that faith, and he said, I'll do it. So Grimes loses. DiBiase's now the butler, which Grimes isn't going to lose.
So I got to ask you. One, because I got to hit you before Chris Barrett asks this. Does Virgil show up and cost him the match?
Shut up. 2, bitch. Shut up.
Does Cameron Grimes turn heel and force DiBiase to be the butler?
To LA Knight?
Yeah, because if it no longer means that Cameron Grimes is the butler, does he care whether or not Ted DiBiase is the butler or not?
Yes, because he wants to win that $1 million title.
But hold on. Remember, who was the guy that caused Cameron Grimes all that trouble when he was a millionaire and he was just trying to get diamond rings and nice watches and everything else?
That makes too much sense. They're not thinking like that. Cameron Grimes is going to win the belt.
So I gotta ask, and let's see what Chris Barrett has to say, because it doesn't even say that Chris Barrett's in the audience. Cena has to win a 6-pack challenge. Okay, if I'm gonna say that, Chris Barrett, you gotta line me up for it.
We got 20 minutes, sir.
I'm gonna say right now that Chris Barrett called out a 6-pack challenge match player for John Cena. But Virgil is going to be the butler. Virgil caused Cameron Grimes all that trouble. So I think that the two ideas that I just came up with are not just gold. They're $1 million title ideas, man. Like you just said that the idea that Ted DiBiase becoming the butler because it makes too much sense. Like NXT is willing to take that chance. But I think you're right. Yeah. I think that they go full babyface and they give Cameron Grimes his win. And more than anything else, I think they give him his win because I think that Triple H knows that the following Tuesday night is not going to be the same NXT.
Yeah.
So we might not see the $1 million championship on Tuesday night. We might not see Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher as a tag team on Tuesday night. We might not see The Way as a heel faction on Tuesday night. And it worries me, but it also has me intrigued to see where starting Monday night we start seeing some talent go, because I don't want to see vignettes for Johnny Gargano, but I would love to see Johnny Gargano show up on Friday night in the Intercontinental mix. Like same thing with Ciampa. Like I love Ciampa. Ciampa is world title material anywhere else he goes, including NXT. But he's U.S. title or Intercontinental title in WWE based on how they want to use him.
Yeah.
Unless Vince sits there and sees that just spark that we've all seen when it comes to him, right? Like I'll tell you right now, And I've said this on this show, Tino, that I did not see that spark in Tommaso Ciampa when he was in Ring of Honor. I did not see it.
Definitely kicked it up a notch. Now
I didn't even see it until he kicked Johnny Gargano's head in after they lost the tag team championships.
Having said that, I did appreciate his Sicilian psychopath character in ROH.
I liked it.
He had that intensity.
But he was never going to be a Ring of Honor champion.
No. I think he brought part of that too with him
the depth that they got with him and Gargano. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah,
I really didn't. But the depth that they got with him and Johnny Gargano led you to understand that these were the next generation of Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Like they really were. And the only guys that I wanted to see them wrestle, if they went to the main roster, were going to be Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
And I don't care if they wrestle anybody else. Maybe a Dolph Ziggler, maybe a Bobby Roode. You know, if they decided to go for the tag team titles or whatever. But otherwise, I didn't want to see them go against anybody else. I didn't want to see them go against an Elias. I didn't want to see them get... Now, Timothy Thatcher versus Elias, and Timothy Thatcher like grabs a pair of pliers and tries to pull his teeth out. Okay, I want to watch that. You know what I mean? But but we you said 20 minutes.
Yeah, let's hit SmackDown.
I'm going to give this to you.
Cena's winning that belt. Cena's winning that belt. Now, I don't know how long he'll keep it, but Saturday night, I see John Cena winning that title.
Okay, so you gotta talk to and sell the people watching our show right now on why you believe that is the case, and more. Go ahead.
John Cena come back. John Cena said it himself. He is one win away from breaking Ric Flair's record. He has nothing else to prove. Roman has everything to prove. Roman is having a good year, or year and a half, by pulling off this heel thing he's got going on. But I still think something's missing. I don't think he's had a challenge. Now, is John Cena a challenge? Probably not. But I think John Cena is the closest thing he's got. John Cena have anything else to prove? And like he said, he admitted, "You're going to beat me. You're going to beat my ass. But all I need to do is that 1, 2, 3." I love the promo. I love the promo.
So a couple things about that promo. One, it was very reminiscent of the pipe bomb promo from CM Punk.
On whose end?
On John Cena's.
Okay.
Because if you remember, he even said, "I might blow you a kiss."
Yeah.
And run up through and then the champ is gone, right? He also sat there and brought up at least one other member of the former WWE family that is no longer a member of the family.
But he didn't do that. And I agree, but that's after Roman said what he said.
Yeah. So what Tino's referring to, folks, is if you didn't watch it, Roman sat there and said, "Look at who it is. It's Mr. Missionary, 20 years of the same thing," sitting there talking about how good that is, except for the fact that it wasn't good enough for Nikki Bella. It's a great line. Thank you, Paul Heyman. Appreciate that. And then, of course, John Cena comes out probably without Paul Heyman's help and sits there and says, "You almost ruined Seth Rollins. You did walk Dean Ambrose out of the WWE." And then they go from there. But let me ask you something, and let me try to mold this a little bit like we do here. The idea that John Cena wins the title, when does he lose it?
What's the summer scene? I mean, he could lose it. He could lose it on SmackDown. It'd be cool if he kept it throughout SummerSlam, but I have a feeling he'll lose it on a SmackDown.
So currently, the WWE has the Summer of Cena ending at SummerSlam.
Oh, really?
However,
at SummerSlam.
However, as I told you, Tino, John Cena will be there at Madison Square Garden in September. So that, by the way, is a Super SmackDown episode, right? So I had to guess, all in all, is there a possibility that John Cena wins the title? Because when this whole thing started and they said that John Cena is gone after SummerSlam, the instant statement that I had was John Cena does not win this title, right?
Right.
Said that on the show, said that to you personally, continue to say it on the Facebook group, whatever. When we heard that John Cena was going to be at the Madison Square Garden show, I think it's September 13th. When we heard that he was going to be at that show, whenever it is, I said, shit, Cena could win the title.
And I think if he wins the title, remember I said he might not hold it. I didn't know. I thought it'd be longer. I bet you he loses it at that Super Show because you got to remember, I think it's that same weekend AEW has something big. So I think Vince trying to keep up with AEW, it's got to be a big name. Maybe he'll lose it back. I don't know.
I don't think it has anything to do with AEW. I think it's got to do with, hey, we got crowds back. It's Madison Square Garden. It's special to Vince. So let's never talk about right now AEW being competition to Vince, because Vince does not look at it as competition. Like he legitimately a week ago sat there and said, maybe we can give them some more people.
Okay.
Like he does not look at them as competition. Now, the fact that they have sold out Arthur Ashe Stadium with 15,000 seats and WWE with John Cena on the broadcast being part of Super SmackDown has not sold out the Garden. Now, granted, hold on, there's probably 40,000 seats versus 15,000 seats. But yes, there is something going on there, right? So will Vince do the Eric Bischoff and say, we're going to be in the Atlanta Superdome and we're going to go ahead and change the title over Hogan versus Goldberg on Nitro? The answer is yes. There is a high probability that will happen, but mainly because Vince will go back to his old school thinking. And I hate to tell everybody this because they think that it's AEW, but the fact of the matter remains, if it's a SmackDown show that's going to have both Raw and SmackDown superstars on it, anything can happen, which means Vince will show, hey, we have 40,000 people in the Garden. Something special is going to happen. Yes, that'll be the night that Roman Reigns beats the shit out of John Cena and knocks him out of the WWE for the foreseeable future and takes back his title. I can't dispute that. I think that is exactly the booking that we're looking at here. And Chris Barrett says that the Garden holds 45,000. And that's what I'm saying is that AEW knows they can't sell out 45,000 yet, or they're not willing to try because they don't want to have, we can't sell it out.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Like if I were them, I would sit there and go, okay, our biggest show of the year. People already think that CM Punk's going to be there. People think this is going to happen. Let's go for the Chicago Bears Stadium. Let's not do the United Center. Let's go for the Chicago Bears Stadium. Let's really put it to Vince and say, fuck it, we're doing it. Right?
Yeah.
What happens if they only get 45,000 seats sold instead of 60,000 seats?
They're fucked.
Not a goddamn thing. Nobody cares. They sold 45,000 seats. The biggest crowd in AEW history, folks. Here we are live. And
I think
look in my eyes.
That's going to happen when they're in Chicago.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You do it in the Chicago Bears Stadium, and you have that play instead of the 1 hour Rampage broadcast. Like,
are
if
they
were smart,
are they on Rampage?
Tino, I'm going to say right now, if they were smart, what is the number one draw that they could get with a CM Punk being his opponent on AEW? It'd be MJF. MJF right now is your biggest heel. Am I wrong? Are you getting in trouble?
Yeah, I asked a question and you just blew over me and she laughed because I asked a question and you just kept going.
I didn't hear your question.
I'm like, are they doing is the Rampage in Chicago?
Rampage this week is in Chicago.
So I don't know why I thought it was Dynamite.
No, it's Rampage at the United Center, or Rampage at somewhere in Chicago, and then All Out's at the United Center on the 5th. So they've got 2 Chicago shows.
Okay. So
Chris Barrett, I don't care about the WrestleMania 3 tickets of 93,173.
So yeah, MGF probably.
So
that's all they got.
So like Scott said in our group, okay, the best thing to do there is at Rampage, as the show's either getting ready to start or ready to end, you start playing Cult of Personality, and instead of having CM Punk walk out, you have MJF walk out. And imagine how that crowd explodes and then immediately becomes the largest boo you have ever heard.
Yeah.
Right? And then he sits there and he goes, I've got you eating out of my hands.
I thought we were talking about SmackDown.
We were.
Oh. I'm trying. How did we get? I just got lost.
I mean, if you want me to go back to SmackDown, I will.
No, but I just got lost. No, I don't like that MJF thing though, because I don't know if MJF is big enough.
He would be.
For CM
he
Punk.
Would be if he came out to CM Punk's entrance music. But you have to make sure that you've got him signed. If CM Punk is not signed and he's playing the audiences, you can't have them play Cult of Personality before he comes out. But why would you have him come out on a 1 hour broadcast of Rampage at 10 o'clock on a Friday night when you can have him open or close the pay-per-view show?
Unless when is the pay-per-view? That's on a Saturday?
September 5th.
If they did it at the end, what's September 5th, a Saturday? Sunday?
Probably.
If they did that at the end, like as the show was going
at the end of Rampage?
Yeah, like you know, Tony Tron used to go, we're desperately out of time. If that music hit and he walks out, people buying that pay-per-view.
But we're talking about people talking about this Friday night is Rampage.
Yeah.
And you got 2 more weeks until the pay-per-view. And the pay-per-view is a Sunday, by the way. September 5th is a Sunday.
So
it will be September 3rd.
Yeah. 1, 2, yeah.
So I'm going to tell you, it's all. Yeah, September 5th is a Sunday. It's all great and it's all wonderful. When we go back to, like talking about SmackDown and SummerSlam and everything else. SummerSlam, obviously, this Saturday night. Did you hear the rumor that the women's SmackDown Championship might not be on the line?
No, why?
Did you notice who wasn't on? Or apparently, two people weren't at like the super shows this weekend. Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks.
Where were they? They got COVID. Which we're winding down to the end, but Keith Lee finally came out with his reason why he wasn't, and that's why he almost died.
Yeah, it wasn't just COVID; he almost died.
Yeah,
let's be real. So yeah.
One more thing. I know I'm a stickler for 2 hours, but one more thing, because you hooked me on this, and I watched it today. Heels. Oh my God. Oh my God. That show.
Yeah, let's talk about it real quick. And I don't want to give any spoilers away. If you haven't already signed up for Stars, folks, sign up for Stars. Get the I was hoping that it would be on Vudu for $2 an episode, but it's not. It probably will be after the show actually airs. Stephen Amell is amazing.
I hope it goes to Netflix or Hulu or something like that.
But the guy that plays his brother is so good, because he plays a character where, for this little dinky wrestling federation called Duffy Wrestling League in Duffy, Georgia, is the baby face, and his brother, who is the promoter and everything else, is the heel. And he goes off script, everything else, and it just, Sasha and Bianca are missing what might be part of the build-up. Chris Barrett, we're still talking about heels. We're not leaving just yet, but I gotta tell you, it's a better story than like anything we're watching on professional wrestling right now.
And you were right. I read what you said on the Facebook chat. Yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad for the promoter. I feel bad for Armel's Arrow. I feel bad for his character.
Yeah, so what I basically said to everybody out there, folks, is that Stephen Amell's character is trying to rebuild the small federation that his dad had built up, and the guy with the big Rick Steiner mustache and mullet, or the skullet, because he didn't have any top hair, he just had a skullet. Apparently is working for like Vince McMahon or something, and trying to steal talent, and trying to basically say, hey, sometimes it's okay to punch your brother in the face in the ring. And Amell basically doesn't know this is the case, but he knows that something's going on and his brother's not right in the head. And he calls an audible. And it, to me, Tino, it reminded me of the screw job. It reminded me of the Montreal screw job.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw it.
And all I could think was, instead of him being Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart, he was
Vince McMahon.
If you've ever heard the outside people talking about it, The Undertaker was like talking about how he was going to go down to the ring and kill somebody that night. And that's the intensity of it. But they talk about the scripting, they talk about the writing of it, they talk about how like they're trying to build from nothing and still do it in the classic way of doing professional wrestling, which is what we love. And they even show, I loved how they showed old TNA footage of Abyss getting cut open and everything else. And I was like, I see what they did there. And did you notice who was in the Battle Royal?
What in
Doc Gallows was in the Battle Royal.
Which one? On the show or in the TNA clip?
No, in the show, like at the end of it, when he told everybody, okay, we're gonna have a battle royal, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. Doc Gallows was in a battle royal.
I didn't see it. I need to go back and watch it.
Yeah, he's got the big Doc Gallows beard and everything. So
cool.
I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the go home music, Tino. You go ahead and AAA Mania us out of here like Ric Flair.
Woo! So, you can always, as always, you can catch him on the Twitter machine at Potsy. Excuse me. I'm Hootie Fan 91. You can check him out on the Insta. He's Rob Pochak. I am SC Tino. You can check him out on the TikTok, and that is Rob Potsy Pochak. Yes, I'm getting it. And then, as always, you're watching us on the YouTube. Please subscribe and like the show. As always, give us a thumbs up. As always, we want to say thank you to Adam's House Cats for the wrestling song. That's our theme song. You can check them out on iTunes for 99 cents. And as always, folks, way down in AAA Mexico, coming out with Andrade, we hear the man, and he is saying, woo!